I first discovered All Eyes while perusing through Tubi late one night. It instantly sparked an image in my head of a monster literally made of just eyes. Then it got me thinking, how would that work? You'd be stepping on your eyes with eye feet. You'd be eating with eye teeth. After thinking about that for a little bit, I just had to watch All Eyes and see what this creature looked like. It follows a podcaster named Alan who hosts a show called US Sane, a coast-to-coast like show where he interviews people with paranormal stories. He works for APR, a ripoff of NPR. Imagine if Coast to Coast was on NPR. That would be insane. Anyway, this show seems to be pretty popular, and tonight he has a special guest on, Mark, who's being followed by a shadow person. This isn't the first time Mark's been on the program. Last time it raked in a ton of views, and now he's got a major update to his story. He managed to catch one of them and locked it in his basement. Obviously, this guy is nuts, and he just has some poor girl locked away. So Alan's assistant, Kim, calls 911. But it looks like it might be too late. It's all chaos for a bit, but hey, at least they're getting views. After this, Alan is blamed for the death of the girl, even though he really had nothing to do with it. He just so happened to be interviewing a crazy person. But I guess that's enough to get Alan fired from APR.
First, some thought this was a hoax.
However, it quickly became clear that this was real.
That night, Kim comes over to see how he's doing. And, well, not so well.
It's okay.
She tries to cheer him up by saying he just needs to find that one story that everyone loves so he can get his job back. So he goes to his box of freaks, the place he puts all the user-submitted stories for the show. I think they missed a good opportunity here to go through some of the funnier stories he might have gotten. They do mention a haunted birdhouse, but really that's it. What about all the other wacky stuff that would be in that box? Anyway, Kim finds a letter from a guy named Don Thomas. He hates US Sane, but his wife loved it, and with her recently passing, he wants to meet him in her memory. He even offers Alan $25,000 to come to his house and hunt a monster with him. Something that lives in his woods and has 1,000 eyes. Of course, they don't believe him, but this would make for a pretty good story. So he heads to Hobart, Oklahoma to meet with him. Right off the bat, there's several red flags.
Yes?
Don takes Alan into the middle of nowhere where there's no cell reception, and he tells him to wear a blindfold and he'll drive him the rest of the way there.
I can't let you see where I live.
Sure, trust this crazy guy that you just met with your life. Didn't you just watch a kidnapping live on your podcast?
No.
Well, I guess Alan really wants the story because he agrees and they end up at Don's house. Which is another giant red flag because the place is pretty much empty. Don says he doesn't like clutter, and once Jean, his wife, died, he just got rid of everything. But doesn't that sound like the same thing a serial killer would say?
Cool.
Red flag number 3 comes up when Don makes Alan give him his cell phone and warns him that the whole place is booby-trapped. Crazy as it may be, booby traps actually kind of make sense. Because, I mean, this guy thinks that there's a giant 1,000-eyed monster in his woods.
Just stay with me. You'll be fine.
They head over to Don's garage, which is the opposite of his home. This place is covered in junk. But Don assures him everything here has its purpose. He also gets to see a hand-drawn picture of the monster. And, well, I mean, I'm no artist either, so I guess if I saw this thing in real life, I'd be pretty terrified. We do get a flashback to when Don first encountered the creature, but yeah, we don't see it. Now the guys are waiting at the tree line. They actually spend quite a bit of time here, just waiting to see what Don calls eyes. They briefly talk about a horse Don has. He plays it off like it just showed up one day and never left, but as we'll see later on, I don't think that's the case.
Showed up one day and wouldn't leave.
They wait around all day, and at night, Eyes is still a no-show. So the men head off to bed. Nothing too important to talk about here, except for the show Alan watches before bed. I wish this was real. In the morning, Alan wanders around and finds some of Don's booby traps. But just wait, this ain't nothing. As Alan heads to the tree line, he notices that the horse is gone. He asks Don about it, and he looks pretty upset over a horse he didn't care about. It's not said here, but I'm guessing in the night, the monster killed the horse. And also just a guess, it was Gene's. So yeah, the horse did mean something to him, and now that's gone. They wait around all morning, and Don passes out. Alan records his story for a bit until Don wakes up and leaves him alone out here.
I need to
As you would guess, now is the time Eyes comes close. Don has sort of a tracker that goes off when the beast is near. Alan goes in for a closer look, but honestly, nothing really happens. It's not until Don comes running back to him. So it turns out that he found a walkie-talkie. Some guys in hazmat suits were on his property, and he chased them away and stole this walkie-talkie. The guys on the other end say that they were out hunting for Subject 878 when Don attacked them. But that just goes to show something is going on in the woods, and I'm guessing Eyes is Subject 878. It's not too long after that, the agents are back on the property, but this time he's prepared for him. Don goes out to yell at him, and it looks like they managed to capture 878. Which I think would be a good thing, but it seems like this hunt is personal for Don, and he wants him to release it so he can kill it. Hearing that he has a ton of traps all meant to capture and kill the creature, Don threatens them and says he'll turn the traps on them, so they peel out of there. He does try to set off one of these booby traps, but it's too late, and it fires when they're long gone. That night, it seems like this story has hit its climax for Alan. It's over. The creature is captured, Don didn't get his revenge, and an unhappy ending for him. So he takes his rage out on his tablet, something he used to control all the traps. That night, Don gets drunk and is rummaging through some of Jean's old things. He tells Alan that before she died, she left her husband 52 things around the house for Don to find, one for each year they were married. He says that Jean kept him grounded, and needless to say, he misses her a lot. He found 51 envelopes, but not the 52nd. Don wonders if he's crazy for all this, and no, these envelopes are the most sane thing that we've seen about him so far. Knowing that this little experiment is over, he agrees to take Alan to his car in the morning. Alan asks him just one more question. Why? Why does he want to kill Eyes? And Don admits that he wanted to so bad. It wasn't just because it was eating his cattle, but, well, he didn't get a chance to finish, because he notices that a red light is on, which means that one of his traps is about to be triggered. A few arrows shoot out at Alan and just about take him out too. He escapes to his room, but it's not safe in here either, and he gets stabbed a few times. Heck, he even gets pepper sprayed. He does manage to call 911, but then a sledgehammer comes down and smashes his phone. As all this mayhem is happening, the walkie-talkie comes to life. It seems like the agents messed up, and now Eyes is free again.
I need your help. I'm hurt really bad.
I actually need your help too.
Alan finally manages to escape the Home Alone on steroids smart house and goes to the garage, which isn't any safer. He triggers a trap and gas fills the room. He hides out in a truck, which has a gas mask, so that's good. He does manage to find the 50-second letter left behind by Jean, but it doesn't really say that much, just that she was crazy in love with Dawn. It gets to the point where Alan thinks he's just gonna die in here, and, well, maybe he will, because something else is in the garage with him. While this creature's chowing down on some bait Dawn left out, Alan escapes to the surveillance room and finds the Encore button, something Dawn told him to use in a worst-case scenario. And, well, I can't really think of a worst case. He pushes the button, but nothing. It has to be within 10 feet. So he sneaks closer and closer, but then the thing runs away. He sees the bait and all the tiny bombs it's been laced with. As Alan studies it for a bit, Eyes sneaks up behind him. Finally, we get to see the creature. After he thoroughly craps his pants, he pushes the button and everything on the property blows up, including the bombs that are now in the creature's stomach. Alan returns home, he gives his notes to Kim, who shows him to the high-ups, and they want Alan back. So, a happy ending for all. Well, except for Dawn, who's dead, but you know. And that was All Eyes. It started out really strong, but once Dawn died, it all kind of fell apart. Dawn was the best part of the movie for sure. There was quite a bit that I feel like they didn't elaborate on. Like, why did he really care about that horse so much? And he really wanted to kill Eyes. Why? It seemed personal for him, like maybe the monster killed his wife, but they pretty much confirmed she died of cancer. Maybe there's a metaphor there, I don't really know. I just came here for a monster made of eyes. I'm glad they did show it, but I think we would all agree it wasn't nearly enough. A few more glimpses of the creature here and there would have really been appreciated. Like I said, at the end of the movie it all kind of fell apart. It's not that Alan couldn't carry the story, but it's mostly just him trying, and failing, to avoid traps. And a lot of those traps would have to be pretty lucky to make their mark. Like the pepper spray, the can had to be facing the right spot. I mean, it was funny, but it was like, get to the point, alright, move on. All that aside, All Eyes isn't really a bad movie at all. It's more about Dawn's story than a crazy eye monster, so go in with that attitude, and I think you'll have a good time. I give All Eyes 2.5 sledgehammers to your phone out of 4.